Are you a killer? Not a murderer, a killer. See, these are definitions according to the Oxford Dictionary. Killer, a person or thing that kills, and murder, the one who commits murder, the unlawful premeditated killing of one human being by another. There's a difference, isn't there? If I ask my question again, and you wouldn't raise your hand, then either you're lying or, well, you are. We all killed something. Directly or indirectly, on purpose or without trying. We all did. And still we understand death as the end. We try to postpone it and maximize as we can. Like the pharmaceutical industry that we put so much money in it to create medicines and research. Or the esteem that we think about doctors as a career, which is saving other people's lives. The investment we put into security and safe methods of doing everything. Even this year, the whole planet stopped because there was a chance of contracting a mortal virus. Nothing stands above losing our precious lives. Anyone might say that is obvious, that every species is scared of dying. But I don't think we are scared of death. We are scared of dying, of losing someone. But saying that we are scared of death is almost selfish. One thing that represents how humans behave in this type of context is what's happening to Earth right now. You see, you might think about many campaigns that has the sentence, "Save Earth," or "the planet is dying." But honestly, it isn't. We put it in that way because it makes us look like we're seeing the bigger picture. We're not thinking about ourselves. But that's what happens. It has been bad for decades. It started to affect us now. It started to threaten our species. And in any other context, you can switch species who are our personal bubbles. Death is no different. When we think of death, we think about how it affects us and, well, pretty much everything in the human world. After all, death cannot be considered a big deal when we have the nuclear science industry or the whole military budget we spend on bombs and arms, even the whole industry. All these things have the single purpose of killing. So I cannot say that death is a big deal for humans when even the only thing we have certainty in life, which is that it ends, we treat it as, well, treat it about ourselves. You remember that kindergarten sentence that your teacher probably told you once or twice? Treat others the way you want to be treated. This should apply to this context as well, because, as I said, we try so hard so we don't end up dying. Why do we invest so much so this is brought up on others? But don't worry, this is not what this is about. I'm trying to call out something that we despise in our society, which is hypocrisy, through the idea of how we interpret death, because that's something we all understand in one way or another. For anything, let's understand what hypocrisy is. Again, according to the Oxford Dictionary, the practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform is hypocrisy. And I'll add a context to it because I know a lot of analogies, and also because it becomes easier to understand. Well, something we can all relate to is this. You see, this is a dog. We can say that a dog is cute, we might not even like dogs, but we all see dogs as non-edible. And we see pigs as edible. And even though this is appropriate to serve as an argument, my point's not about this. So, the thing is, they are both mammals, they are both alive, and in theory, they both can die and be eaten. But our culture doesn't really accept that this happens to the dog, so we can use that as an excuse, even though it doesn't make us less selective about where we apply our empathy to. Anyways, the problem comes when we judge someone for not killing the pig and instead killing and wanting to eat the dog. We label that as wrong, and the person might come up and say, "No, but this is about culture." You don't think that that's a little less wrong only because it's her culture, do you? That was my point. Hypocrisy comes in so many shapes and forms that sometimes it's even hard to identify it in our society. So I'm sorry for choosing such a morbid example, like death, but as I said before, it's because we all understand something about it, and we tend to take things a little bit more seriously, even if just the word death is mentioned. But have you ever called someone a hypocrite? The anger that comes with it, it's really weird in my concepts, because we contradict ourselves many, many times, and I thought that by now it would be common sense that will happen, but clearly it isn't. By the fear of being called hypocrites, people even go against other ideals that they might have, and that made them more hypocrites than they were in the first place, as someone called it out. In the examples of the pigs and the dogs, we have, well, someone might say xenophobic things that go against other principles and claims they have, as against prejudice and pro-equality. So when we swap the pigs and the dogs, or people from different countries and different ideologies, we can see that every single moment in our history, we created excuses just for the fear of being called hypocrites. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that being a hypocrite is a good thing, or it isn't a bad. We tend to think that every hypocrisy is the liberal hypocrisy, and that's not quite it. Hypocrites don't tend to be really trustworthy, or when you swap your ideals every once in a while, you don't really apply them to your lives. But in the examples of the pigs and the dogs, you can see that the liberal was the key word. Because even though you claim you support the ideal I presented before, it doesn't make you less hypocrite by saying that someone wanted to kill the dog, being that that's a wrong thing to do. You might not think that's a wrong opinion, but still not less hypocritical. Remember, being a hypocrite is not the same thing as being a bad person. But if saying that a behavior we can all recognize that exists is a hypocritical way of thinking, and it makes most people try to go against it, my point shows itself proven. When we have a problem, the first thing we must do to solve it is accept its existence. And that's something we do with hypocrisy. We deny that it happens, and it happens quite a lot. You see, if we become less worried of being called hypocrites, and as seeing ourselves as hypocrites that shouldn't deserve nobody's trust, maybe we just start living by our ideals, and contradictions will happen even less, because people don't tend to believe in two opposite things. So, if you're not following a strict way of thinking, you become more adaptable. And I believe that if you become more adaptable, your beliefs becomes stronger. And remember also that if someone calls you a hypocrite, don't be angry at that person or the word or even what it means. The anger should be directed that you didn't really show the world the ideals you have the way you wanted to. And that's okay. Remember, being a hypocrite doesn't make you a bad person. It only makes you human. I'm Heloísa, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk.